Okay, there it goes. Okay, this is unit 5.1. This is going to be fiscal and monetary policy actions in the short run. So what we're looking for is in a recessionary gap. As we can see on aggregate supply and demand, we're going to look at action by the Federal Reserve on the money supply graph. So review of the money supply graph. We're going to have our graph just like all of our other ones. Let me zoom in a little bit. We have vertical money supply because the Federal Reserve Bank is in charge of it. Downward sloping money demand. The quantity of money. Oh, sorry, I like to be a little sideways. And then where money supply and money demand cross, we're going to have the nominal interest rate, which is shown right here by IR, or lowercase I, is the nominal interest rate. Remember, that's the price of using money, or the cost of using money. So now that we have these both set up in equilibrium, this is a short run equilibrium, this is an equilibrium also, where these two cross. So now we're going to look at the tools of the Federal Reserve when we have a recessionary gap. So our goal with a recessionary gap is to battle against unemployment. So the first one we can look at is the reserve ratio, which is two lowercase r's. And what we want to do is something expansionary. So we'd like to lower the reserve ratio. And that would mean banks have less money in their required reserves. And that would make them have more money in their excess reserves for them to loan out. The other thing they can do is called open market operations. Now, an expansionary open market operations is to buy bonds, and that's going to make big bucks. That's going to make the money supply increase, which I should have added that over here. That's going to make the money supply go up, and that's our goal. Okay? The discount rate, remember, is the rate at which banks can borrow from the Federal Reserve Bank if they run out of money. Kind of like the Great Depression, they couldn't borrow from the Federal Reserve Bank because there was total chaos. So if we want to expand the economy, we want to lower the discount rate. We also want to lower the Fed funds rate. The Fed funds rate is the rate at which banks can borrow from other banks when they don't have enough money to cover deposits or to make loans. These have actually been set at zero since March of 2020, because March of 2020 was not very good, was it? So they saw a possible recession coming from the pandemic, and all of these were lowered to zero, hoping that investment would increase. That was the idea. Remember, people at low interest want to borrow money. So when we look at the money supply, all these expansionary policies are going to lead to the money supply increasing. So the whole point of this one is lower reserve ratio means more multiple deposit expansion. So an expanding of the money supply leads to low interest. So if we go over to our money supply graph, we're going to create a new money supply. Remember, we increase right, decrease left. So that's going to shift to the right. We'll have Q to Q1, indicate that with a right shift arrow. And now I can see where money supply crosses money demand. We're going to have low interest rates. And that is the goal, because at low interest rates, that's going to create investment. And that's what we want, is gross private investment. And just if you need to think about it, remember, sig x is equal to AD. And if we want AD to increase, we need one of these to increase. In this one, gross private investment is most affected by low interest rates. So at low interest rates, people are going to borrow money. Aggregate demand is going to go up because they'll go out in the economy and spend that money that they borrowed. And when this happens, let's go over here to our aggregate demand graph. So we want to get back to here to full employment. That's the goal, to battle this unemployment. So aggregate demand is going to shift to the right. It's going to bring us back to full employment right here in the middle. Okay, sorry. And so if aggregate demand increases, GDP is going to go up. Unfortunately, it's going to cause some inflation with price level going up. But our goal is if GDP is going up, unemployment is going to decrease. So our results over here, we have aggregate demand going up, price level is going to go up, GDP is going to go up, unemployment is going to decrease. Unfortunately, we're going to have high inflation, and interest rates are going to drop. I'll zoom in so you can see that one a little bit better. And those are all the monetary policy effects, are all the things that are expansionary.